Joining me now is the Parliamentary Budget Officer, Yves Giroux. Welcome, Mr. Giroux. Thanks so much for being here.
My pleasure.
So we do have some good news on the horizon. Let's start with the bad, because my mom always said get that out of the way first. Slow growth next year, this year into next year. How long before we have to start talking about the dreaded R word, recession?
Barring any unforeseen event on the world stage, for example, another big economic shock with the war in Ukraine, or something bad happening in an emerging economy like a financial crisis, we should not be talking about a recession. What we expect is more akin to a soft landing, with the economy slowing down now, like in the second half of 2022, in 2023, and then picking up again in 2024, helped by exports and also by an uptick in demand.
That's a relief to many, I'm sure, not to have to talk about the R word.
Yes, and it's a relief to me too, but it's not a guarantee that there won't be a recession.
No, for sure.
It's just that we don't see a recession as the most likely scenario with the evidence and what we are seeing in the economy right now.
And part of that is the global economy. Canada doesn't operate in a vacuum. So how much of this is what Canada can control versus what's happening in the global economy?
Well, it's very little that Canada can control. In fact, if there was to be a recession in Europe, for example, or a much more significant downturn in the US, of course, that would have implications for Canada, and it could trigger a technical recession. But with the state of the labor market that we are seeing right now, even a technical recession, two consecutive quarters of negative growth, would not have a dramatic impact on the labor markets because of the labor shortages that we are seeing in many parts of the country.
You also noted that we now have some more fiscal room, that this government has some more fiscal room. So there's choices that a government has to make. You had suggested there's a possibility that they could invest in new policy programs if they wanted to. There's also the option of paying down the debt, which is getting more expensive to service because of the higher interest rates. In your estimation, what's the better road ahead?
Well, I'm not making any suggestions as to what's the best way forward. These are policy decisions. But what we're seeing is that due to, in part, inflation, but also in part to better tax yields, the government is benefiting from increased revenues, which is contributing to lowering the deficit. So we don't yet have the numbers for the year that ended in March, but we expect these to be better than what the government forecasted. And for the current fiscal year, the one that we are in, we expect the deficit to be around $26 billion. And that improvement should be reflected in the subsequent years, with a deficit, in the absence of any new spending, of about $3 billion in 2026. So whatever the government decides to do with that additional fiscal room, reducing the deficit or spending it, depends on what the government's decisions and choices will be. But that's not for me to pronounce on whether they should or should not.
I've got about 30 seconds. This report did take into account some of the affordability measures that they did announce. In your estimation, how much could this affect growth, and will the affordability plan actually have an impact on inflation?
Well, the affordability package is relatively small compared to the size of the economy, so it should not have a noticeable or measurable impact on overall inflation.
Mr. Giroux, Parliamentary Budget Officer, always a pleasure to chat with you. Thanks very much for being here.
My pleasure.